Hello, welcome to the Learn English Lab. Today's podcast is IELTS Listening Full Practice Test 1.
It is fantastic to be here. You know, usually when people talk about test prep, there's this collective groan. It feels dry. It feels like just rote memorization. But looking at the breakdown we're doing today, this feels different.
How so?
We aren't just checking boxes. We're essentially dissecting a psychological obstacle course.
That's a fascinating way to frame it.
Isn't it?
Because on the surface, yes, we're dealing with the IELTS. It's a standardized test. Millions of people take it to get into university or, move to a new country.
Sure.
But when you look at the specific source material, this full listening module, it feels less like a vocabulary quiz and more like a test of your ability to filter chaos and manage stress.
You've hit the nail on the head.
Yeah.
That's exactly it. The mission for this deep dive is to take this specific test apart piece by piece. We're going to simulate the entire experience from the moment you put those headphones on through 4 increasingly difficult scenarios. We want to move beyond just what's the answer and get to the mechanics of how a high score is actually engineered.
We're looking for the blueprint then, and the stakes are just incredibly high for our listeners, aren't they? This isn't just about getting a gold star on the fridge.
Not at all.
For many people, these 40 questions determine if they get that student visa or if they can start a new life in an English-speaking country.
The pressure is immense. And the format of the exam is, well, it's designed to exploit that pressure. You have 40 questions split into 4 sections. But here's the kicker.
I think I know what you're saying.
The golden rule that keeps students awake at night. You hear the audio only once.
That is the part that always terrifies me. In the real world, if I zone out while you're talking, I can just say, sorry, say that again. Or I can rewind the podcast. But here, there's no rewind button.
None whatsoever. If you lose focus for 5 seconds, you don't just miss one word. You might miss a string of 3 answers. It requires a type of listening that is completely different from how we consume media today.
What do you mean by that?
Well, we're used to passive listening, podcasts in the background while you're washing dishes, scrolling social media while the TV's on.
Right, multitasking.
This, however, is an active predatory hunt. You are hunting for keywords, for cues, for data points.
Predatory listening. I like that. You have to be aggressive. You can't just let the audio wash over you.
You have to be leaning forward, and crucially, you have to manage the clock. You have roughly 30 minutes of this intense high-wire listening where you're just scribbling on a question paper. But then, and this is so important, you have a 10-minute transfer window at the end to move your answers to the official sheet.
We are definitely going to spend some time on that transfer strategy later because I've read that's where a lot of perfectly good scores go to die.
It's the graveyard of high scores, surprisingly. Simple clerical errors, a misspelled word during that transfer, can just ruin a perfect listening performance.
Wow. Okay, so to give everyone a roadmap, we're going to simulate the full journey today. We're starting in a hotel lobby for a warm-up.
A deceptive warm-up.
Moving to a community center for a monologue, then sitting in on a somewhat tense university group project.
Very tense.
And finally, we're going to tackle a dense, relentless lecture on oceanography.
It really does run the full spectrum of English usage. You go from, can I get a towel, to the ecological ramifications of plastic particulate matter.
Okay, let's not stall any longer. Let's jump into the simulation. Section 1, this is usually called the warm-up, isn't it?
It is, but I think that name is dangerous.
Yeah.
It really is. It lulls you into this false sense of security.
Right.
Section 1 is almost always a dialogue between 2 people in a transactional, everyday context. In our scenario today, we're analyzing a transcript of a phone call to the Seaview Hotel.
Okay, let's set the scene. We have a receptionist and we have a customer. Her name is Emily Carter. The goal here is factual extraction, I think you called it.
Exactly. You're acting like a court stenographer. You just need hard data, names, numbers, dates. The test is checking your ability to catch specifics without getting distracted by the pleasantries and the how are yous.
So let's look at the first data point, the name, Emily Carter. Now, Carter is a pretty common name. Why is this a test item? It seems almost too easy.
It seems simple, right? But the IELTS loves to test your brain's autocorrect. When we hear a common name like Carter, our brain just registers the concept of the name. But on the test paper, you need the spelling. Usually, if a name is tricky or uncommon, they'll spell it out C-A-R-T-E-R.
But even with the spelling, there are traps lurking, aren't there?
Oh, yes. Capitalization is the big one here. This is the first filter. If you write Carter with a lowercase c, In many strict marking rubrics, that's just wrong. It's a proper noun.
So they're testing if you respect the basic rules of English grammar even when you're rushing to write.
That's it. It's a test of attention to detail under pressure.
Is there a way to be sure you've got it right while you're listening? A little safety net?
There is. You listen for the confirmation repetition. In almost every Section 1 dialogue, the receptionist or whoever will echo the information back to the caller. Okay, that's Emily Carter.
Ah, I see.
That echo is your lifeline. If you didn't catch it the first time, or if you're unsure if it was Carter or Parker, you just wait for that echo. It will come.
Okay, that's a great tip. Let's move to the next classic Section 1 hurdle. The phone number, we have 078-456-7890.
Ah, the string of numbers. The challenge here isn't the math, of course. It's the mental buffering. We have a phonological loop in our brains that holds sound by a few seconds.
Right, like your brain's temporary RAM.
Exactly. And when you hear a string of 10 or 11 digits, that loop gets overloaded very, very quickly.
So if you wait until they finish saying the whole number to start writing, you're doomed.
You are setting yourself up for failure. 100%. You will forget the first 3 digits by the time they say the last 3. The expert strategy here is to write simultaneously.
Okay.
You need to almost disconnect your writing hand from your conscious processing and just let the sound travel from your ear down your arm to your pen.
It's a direct feed, no thinking, just transcribing.
And you have to watch out for how they say numbers. They love to say 77 instead of 77 or O instead of 0.
Right, like in the UK.
Yes. If you aren't ready for 078, you might hesitate. And that hesitation is the enemy. You miss 1, you might miss the next 3.
Now, here's a trap that I actually fell for when I was reviewing the transcript. The dates.
Yes.
The customer says, I'll be there from Friday to Sunday, the 15th to the 17th. But the question on the paper just asks for the check-in date.
This is the perfect example of the filtering test. The audio gives you a whole range, 15th to 17th. Your brain hears numbers and just wants to write them all down because you're in that capture everything mode. But the question is specific. Check-in. That is only the 15th. If you write 15th, 17th, you are technically providing incorrect information for that specific blank space.
It's almost like they're testing your ability to ignore information as much as your ability to record it.
That's a huge part of the IELTS.
Yeah.
Selective attention. You have to hit 17th and mentally discard it instantly. It's clutter.
Okay, moving down the booking form, she needs a room type.
She asks for a deluxe room.
But she says, and I'm quoting, a deluxe room with a sea view.
And here we run into the dreaded word count rule. The instruction at the top of the paper will likely say something like, no more than 3 words.
And deluxe room with sea view is 5 words.
Correct. So if you write that, you get a 0.
Yeah.
Even though it is factually what she said.
That feels so harsh.
It's binary. It's right or wrong. The test requires you to synthesize. You need to identify the core noun phrase. The category is deluxe or deluxe room. The sea view is just a feature. It's an add-on, not the room type itself. You have to be ruthless with your editing.
Okay, ruthless editing. Got it. Next, we have special requests. She asks for a non-smoking floor.
And she mentions it's because of allergies. This is a common pattern. Request plus justification.
And you only need the request.
You only need the request. Non-smoking floor. And again, spelling matters. Hyphenation usually isn't penalized, but spelling smoking with an E or something similar definitely will be.
Then comes payment. Credit card. Simple enough. But then the twist. The distractor.
My favorite part.
The receptionist asks about additional services.
This is the part that trips up so many people. The receptionist offers a menu of options. She mentions airport transfer and breakfast.
And if you are just hunting for keywords, you hear airport transfer, and you scribble it down because it's a big, unique noun phrase.
Right, but you have to listen to the transaction, not just the words. You have to listen for the decision. The customer says, yes, please include breakfast, but she declines the airport transfer.
So the airport transfer is a ghost. It's in the audio, but it's not in the reality of the booking.
That's a great way to put it. It's a ghost word. The test is checking if you understand negation, if you understand agreement and disagreement. Just because a word is spoken doesn't mean it's the answer. You have to wait for the final decision.
Finally, for this section, the reason for the visit is a business conference, and then there's a confirmation code. HC12345.
Alphanumeric codes, the bane of everyone's existence.
Why are these so hard? It's just letters and numbers.
Because your brain has to rapid switch between its language center, which processes letters, and its numerical center, which processes digits. HC1, 2, it breaks the flow. It's jarring.
So what's the strategy?
Do not panic if you miss a character. Just keep writing. Put a little dash if you have to. If you panic and try to remember the C, you'll miss the 1, the 2, and probably the 3. It's better to get 4 out of 5 than 0.
Damage control.
Exactly.
So we've survived section 1. We've checked into the Seaview Hotel. Our pulse is settling. But now the test shifts gears. We're heading into section 2.
The social monologue. We are leaving the comfort of a two-way conversation. In a dialogue, the turn-taking helps break up the information. What is your name? Pause. My name is? Pause. It gives you a rhythm.
But in section 2, it's just one person talking at you, a wall of sound.
Yes. In this case, it's the manager of the Riverside Community Center giving a speech or a welcome talk. It is a continuous stream of information, meaning you have far fewer cues to catch your breath.
He starts by introducing the center. He says the main goal is to be a hub for sports activities.
And you have to note the phrasing there, main goal. The distractor here would be the speaker mentioning other things they do, like arts and crafts or, counseling services.
Right.
But the question on the paper will ask for the primary purpose. You have to rank the information hierarchically in your head as you hear it. Sports is number 1.
Then he gives some history. Established in 2005. And the staffing, he says they have around 30 volunteers.
That word around is so vital. It signals approximation. If the question asks how many volunteers, the answer is 30. But hearing around helps you understand the context. It's not a strict corporate audit. It's a friendly community center. It prepares you for that kind of language.
And there's a new development.
A new gym is opening soon.
This feels like another potential trap. Sometimes they talk about facilities that used to exist or facilities that might exist in the future.
Yes, the tense trap. It's very common. They might say, we used to have a swimming pool, but we're excited that now we are opening a gym. If you're not listening carefully, you write down swimming pool because you heard it first.
And you fell for the past tense. You need the present or the immediate future reality.
Correct. You have to be anchored in the now of the audio.
Then we get a list of programs. This looks like a sentence completion exercise on the answer sheet, something like seniors, free blank sessions.
This is a classic scanning task. You're not listening to every word. You are scanning the audio for the demographic seniors. The moment you hear seniors, your ears should perk up for the activity.
And the audio says yoga sessions.
Right. And for children.
It says art classes. And he adds specifically after school.
And sometimes that little detail, after school, is the confirmation that you have the right class. There might be another art class mentioned for adults, but the one for children is after school.
Then there's an event name, the Community Harvest Festival.
And what do we see here?
Capital letters again, I cannot stress this enough. Community Harvest is the specific name of the event. It's a proper noun phrase.
If you write Community Harvest in lowercase, you're signaling to the examiner that you don't understand it's a title. It's an easy point to lose.
Okay, now I get to the part of section 2 that gives me nightmares, the map.
The spatial labeling challenge. This is unique to the listening test, isn't it? You have a simple diagram of the center with letters A, B, C, G, E. You have to match them to rooms.
But the map doesn't have words on it. It's just blank boxes. And the speaker takes you on this verbal tour.
The biggest mistake people make here is they don't orient themselves before the audio starts. The audio always gives you a starting point. It says, entering through the main entrance.
That's your little "you are here" dot on the mall directory.
Exactly. You must mentally stand at that main entrance. If you don't do that, the words left and right mean absolutely nothing.
So in this example, he says receptionist straight ahead. That's easy. That corresponds to label B on the map.
Straight ahead is a signpost phrase. You listen for these. Then he says the classroom is to the left. That's C. The garden is at the back. That's D. And the main hall is on the right. That's E.
It sounds so simple when we walk through it slowly like this. But in real time, you have to do this mental rotation. If the map on your paper shows the entrance at the bottom, left is left. But what if the entrance is at the top of the page?
Then left becomes your right. And that's where people get confused. It's called allocentric versus egocentric navigation.
Is there a trick for that?
There is, and it's so simple. Turn your paper. Seriously, if the entrance is at the top, Turn your paper upside down so the entrance is at the bottom relative to you. Make his left actually your left.
That is a brilliant tactile tip. Don't do the geometry in your head. Physically move the paper to match your perspective.
Works wonders. It removes a whole layer of mental processing. And listen for those prepositions of place. Next to, across from, adjacent to. Those are the coordinates for your mental GPS.
Okay, we've navigated the community center without getting lost. Now we're heading to university, section 3, the academic discussion.
The ramping up. Section 3 is where the difficulty spike really happens for most people. We're back to multiple speakers, usually a tutor and 2 or 3 students. In this deep dive, we have a tutor and 3 students, Tom, Sarah, and Mike.
What makes this so much harder than the dialogue in section 1?
Attribution. It is not enough to just hear the information. You have to know who said it. You have to distinguish between the voices.
And usually the voices are distinct, right? Like a male voice, a female voice to help you out.
Usually. But here they throw you a curveball. We have Tom and Mike, 2 male voices. You have to very quickly tag their voices in your mind. Okay, Tom sounds a bit deeper. Mike sounds a little more anxious or higher pitched. You have to create these mental labels.
The topic of their project is renewable energy sources. The assignment deadline is in 2 weeks, and the tutor recommends they use online databases.
All standard academic setup. But then comes the real test, the matching exercise. You have a list of opinions or tasks on your paper and a list of the people. You have to draw the lines connecting who thinks what.
Let's break down the opinions. Sarah takes on solar power.
That's the easy one, a simple fact. Let's look at Tom. He takes wind energy, but he doesn't just take it. He has an attitude about it. He says, I think wind energy is overrated due to inconsistency.
Overrated? That is a very loaded word. That's pure opinion.
It is heavy with opinion. Now look at your answer sheet. The option on the page likely won't say the word overrated. It might say something like doubts its reliability or is skeptical about its efficiency.
So you have to match his sentiment. Overrated due to inconsistency logically matches doubts reliability.
It's a test of synonym recognition and, more importantly, sentiment analysis. You have to understand his feeling about it.
Then there's Mike. He's assigned hydropower. And he's the worrier of the group, it seems.
He is. He's worried about the cost. Specifically, he mentions the high initial cost of implementation. So if the matching option on the page says, concerned about financial implications, that's your match for Mike.
You have to build that bridge in your mind between the common word cost and the more academic phrase financial implications.
That's the key to Section 3. You are translating concepts, not just matching keywords. If you sit there waiting to hear the word financial, you will miss it entirely because Mike just says cost.
They also discuss the actual requirements of the project. Sarah suggests they should include case studies.
And she gives a reason. She says they provide real examples. This creates a logical link for the listener. Why do we want case studies? For the examples, the answer is often paired with its justification.
And the group comes to an agreement. This is important because in Section 3, they often argue or debate. But here, they agree to focus on practical solutions.
That's the consensus cue. You have to wait for the verbal nod from everyone. You'll hear things like, yes, let's do that. Agreed. Good idea. If one person suggests it and the others stay silent or object, it's not the group's final decision. You have to wait for the consensus.
And finally, the presentation tool. They decide to use PowerPoint slides.
And there we are with brand names again. PowerPoint needs to be capitalized. And spelling it correctly, P-O-W-E-R-P-O-I-N-T, is key. It's become a generic term for any presentation, but in the test you have to treat it as a proper noun.
Before we move on to the final boss battle, I noticed the vocabulary jumped up a level here. Sustainable, implementation, overrated.
This is entirely deliberate. Section 3 is designed to test if you can survive in a university seminar room. If you don't know what implementation means, or if you can't parse the nuance of inconsistency, you will lose the thread of the entire conversation. It's a vocabulary check disguised as a listening task.
So if Section 3 is the seminar, then Section 4 is the lecture hall.
The boss battle. This is Section 4.
This is a continuous monologue, no breaks, no dialogue, just one professor talking about a complex academic topic, in this case, ocean ecosystems.
And this is where the fatigue really sets in. You've been listening intently for maybe 20 minutes. Your brain is tired, your hand is cramping from writing, and now you have to listen to a dense lecture on marine biology. This is a true test of endurance.
Let's break down the content. The professor starts by identifying the main threat to the oceans.
He identifies it as human activity. It's a very broad term, but that's the answer required.
Then we get into statistics. He says over 1,000 marine species are affected.
Let's look at that qualifier. Over. This is so important. If the question asks how many species, and you just write 1,000, you might be marked wrong depending on how strict the marking is. The correct information is more than 1,000. Writing over 1,000 is the safest bet. It's about precision.
He then gets more specific about pollution, using plastic waste as an example.
Right. Which he says is choking sea life. Then he moves on to the mechanics of the ecosystem. He talks about coral reefs. He says they are a habitat for 25% of fish species.
And then the impact of climate change. It causes a rise in sea temperatures.
Note the plural there, temperatures. This is a very subtle grammar test. Often, the sentence structure on the page demands a plural noun, a rise in sea. If you write temperature, the singular, it might be grammatically awkward. Temperatures fits the academic context of global measurements across different oceans.
The lecture seems to follow a very specific pattern. It feels very structured, not random at all.
It is, and recognizing this pattern is a huge advantage. Academic lectures in IELTS almost always follow this logical flow. First, they introduce the problem, human activity, pollution.
Okay.
Second, they provide the details and statistics, 1,000 species, 25% of fish.
Right.
Third, they explain the causes, climate change, rising temperatures. And finally, they propose the solutions.
So if you know that structure, you can almost anticipate where the speaker is going next.
You've got it. When he starts talking about, so what can be done about this? You know you are moving to the solutions part of your question paper. You can physically move your eyes to that section.
Let's look at those solutions. He mentions mitigation strategies.
A great academic word. He suggests establishing more protected marine areas.
Then he brings up an international agreement, the Kyoto Convention.
Now, I have to stop you here. This is a fascinating and crucial point about the IELTS. In the real world, the Kyoto Protocol is primarily about greenhouse gas emissions, not directly about fish.
So if you're an environmental science major listening to this and you think, wait a minute, Kyoto isn't about fish, and you don't write it down.
You lose the point. You must answer based on what the audio says, not your outside knowledge. The test is not a test of facts. It is a test of listening comprehension. If the audio says the moon is made of green cheese, and the question asks, what is the moon made of? The answer is green cheese.
That is such a critical distinction. Do not argue with or correct the professor in your head.
Never. Your own knowledge can actually be a trap here.
He then talks about individual action, reducing plastic usage, and a bleak prediction, a loss of marine biodiversity by the year 2050.
And his final piece of advice, to support environmental organizations.
Phew, that was a marathon. We made it through all 4 sections. The audio stops, you take your headphones off. But the test isn't over, is it?
Not even close. This is the transfer time. You now have 10 minutes to copy your scribbled answers from the question booklet to the official answer sheet.
Why do they give you 10 whole minutes? That seems like a very long time for just 40 words or so.
It is a gift, but a gift that so many people squander. This is not just copying time. This is your editing and proofreading phase. This is when you check your spelling. You look at the word environmental. Did you remember to put the N in the middle? You look at temperatures. Did you add the final S?
You also check your grammar to make sure the answer fits the question.
Yes. If the sentence on the paper is, the project focused on energy, and you wrote wind, it fits, wind energy. If you mistakenly wrote winds, wind's energy doesn't make grammatical sense. You use this time to ensure the answer fits perfectly into the grammatical slot provided.
So we've deconstructed the specific test items from this practice run, but I want to zoom out. What are the meta strategies that connect all of this? What is the mindset of a student who gets a Band 9 score?
The first and most important meta strategy is prediction. We touched on this, but let's go deeper. You have 30 to 40 seconds before each section starts. The audio says you now have some time to look at questions 1 to 5.
And most people just passively read the questions.
Which is the wrong approach.
Yeah.
You need to actively analyze the gaps. If you see a blank space after a currency symbol, like a $sign or a pound sign, you know the answer must be a number. You prime your brain to specifically listen for a number.
If you see a sentence like, the main of the project was, you know you need a noun.
Correct. Or, the project was very ain. You know you need an adjective. It narrows your focus immensely. You aren't listening to the whole sentence for every possible word. You are waiting for a specific type of word to slot in. You're effectively filtering out 90% of the noise before it even happens.
What about synonyms and paraphrasing? That seemed to be the main theme of Section 3.
It is the #1 trick in the IELTS arsenal. The audio will very rarely say the exact word that is written on your question paper. This is called parallel phrasing.
Can you give us some examples?
Sure. If the text says a company was founded in a certain year, the audio will say it was established. If the text asks about a luxury room, the audio will call it a deluxe room.
So if you are sitting there with your pen poised, waiting to hear the word luxury, you are going to be waiting forever.
And you will miss the answer completely. You have to listen for the meaning, not just for the sound of a specific word. You have to be flexible in your thinking.
Let's revisit the 3-word rule one more time because it's just so important and so strict.
Strict adherence is absolutely mandatory. No more than 3 words and/or a number. If the correct factual answer is the new red sports car, that's 5 words. You have to trim the fat.
So what would you write?
You'd write new red sports car, or maybe just red sports car. You have to remove articles like the or a if you need to save space, and they aren't essential to the meaning.
And spelling. The silent killer.
It really is. It feels so unfair. You can understand everything perfectly, be a brilliant listener, but if you spell accommodation with only 1 M, you get a 0 for that question. Common words must be spelled correctly. There's no partial credit.
Is that why you mentioned accent familiarization earlier in our chat?
Yes, absolutely. The IELTS is an international test. You will hear British accents, Australian accents, American, maybe even New Zealand or South African voices.
And they all affect how vowels sound. Data versus data. Schedule versus schedule.
Precisely. And if you've only ever practiced with Hollywood movies, an Australian speaker talking about data might throw you off for just a split second.
And in this test, a split second is all you have.
That's right. If your brain has to buffer for a second to decode the accent, you might have just missed the next keyword.
So we have deconstructed this entire test. We've looked at the traps, the strategies, the mindset. What does this all mean for the listener right now? How do they actually prepare?
It means that consistency is key. You cannot cram for listening. It's a muscle, not a fact sheet. You have to build the muscle memory for catching these fleeting details, for filtering, for predicting.
It's like training for a sport. You need to practice the reflexes over and over.
That's the perfect analogy. And my call to action for everyone listening is this. Treat every single piece of audio you consume as a mini practice session.
How would that work?
If you're watching a YouTube video, try to summarize the main point in 3 words when it's over. If you're listening to the news on the radio, try to catch the specific numbers they mention, the percentages, the dates.
So you're saying to turn the world into your exam prep.
You got it. It keeps that part of your brain active and sharp. Don't just let the sound wash over you. Grab it. Interrogate it.
And it's interesting because these skills, active listening, summarizing, filtering information, paying attention to detail, these aren't just for the test, are they? These are fundamental life skills.
They absolutely are. Being able to listen to a chaotic meeting at work and extract the 3 main action items, that makes you better at your job. Being able to listen to a university lecture and identify the core argument, that makes you a better student. The IELTS is just measuring a skill that is valuable everywhere in life.
Well, we have gone from the lobby of the Seaview Hotel through the Riverside Community Center, survived a group project with Tom and his strong opinions about wind energy.
His very strong opinions.
And dived deep into the ocean's ecosystem. That has been quite a journey.
It really highlights how diverse language testing can be. And just remember, the goal isn't just to get the answer right. It's to understand why it's right, to understand the logic behind the trap.
I think that is a perfect place to leave it. Thank you so much for guiding us through this maze.
It was my pleasure.
And to you, the listener, thank you for sticking with us on this deep dive. If you found this breakdown helpful, please like, share, and subscribe to this YouTube channel.
Good luck with all your preparation.
See you next time.